All right, 3, 2, 1. Hello and welcome to the Gonzo Experience. I am David Charles Mamano, but you know me as David Gonzo Mamano. People ask, why Gonzo? Well, it was my fraternity name from Sammy Sigma Alpha Mu at UB, SUNY Buffalo. Years ago, Gonzo, they must have thought I looked like them up in a little bit. So I'm David Gonzo Mamano here at your service today with another great episode of the Gonzo Experience. Today I have on the show somebody who's going to blow your mind with what he's done. The guy looks tremendous if you're watching this on video. And he's been a great influence on my life as well. Very positive, and has some ambitious goals about helping people. And I love ambition. And I'm going to say, I'm going to read his bio to you. He wants to help 100 million people. That's a BHAG, a big, hairy, audacious goal. And I know he's going to do it. Jonathan Roche. Jonathan, welcome to the show.
David, excited to be on and hopefully provide some tools and strategies. My intent for our 30 minutes together is to have the audience leave in a drastically better state, not just motivation. They can get that from YouTube, but with specific tools and strategies that they can implement right away to elevate, particularly as we're launching a new year.
Well, you said hopefully. I'm going to take the word hopefully right out of that because I know that you're going to have some impact, and I'm totally psyched about it. I'm going to read your bio in a second, but Jonathan, we met, and was it 2012, I want to say, something like that. We met at a Darren Hardy event called the High Performance Forum. I think there was like 24 of us, something like that. Now he has hundreds. We were in his third class. So we got to really become very close friends with people. And then, I met you in Elite, right? So then we went to the Elite. I sat next to you and I got to feel your energy. You taught me how to work out smarter with interval training and all that great stuff. It's just been fun to follow you. I follow you on Facebook. Very inspirational. Your bio, I usually don't read the bios, in like word for word, but I'm going to read yours because it's so damn impressive. So Jonathan Roche, he is an award-winning fitness expert, best-selling author, a 12-time Ironman triathlon finisher, and get this, a 26-time Boston Marathon finisher, running 25 straight to raise funds for the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute. He is the founder and CEO of Breakthrough Health, and he holds 2 patents on personal interval training. Jonathan is a peak performance coach for professional athletes, CEOs, other leaders, and many teams. His first book, The No Excuses Diet, which is an anti-diet book, hit number 3 on the Amazon bestseller list and was featured on the Today Show. Jonathan's second book, titled 12 Key Habits to Permanent Weight Loss, will be released on April 4th. Breakthrough Health's mission is to positively transform 100 million lives by 2025. You got 3 years. You got 3 years, buddy. So I love that. Can't wait for your book to come out. We were talking before the recording about how the holidays killed me with all the Italian food, carbs, cookies, et cetera, thrown my way. So I'm excited about your book coming out. Again, 12 Key Habits to Permanent Weight Loss. Can you pre-order that on Amazon yet? Or is it we're still in the process of waiting for it?
It's actually going to be up tomorrow to be pre-ordered for that April 4th release date. So yeah, tomorrow.
Okay. So we're recording this about a week earlier from when your interview is going to come out. So by the time this comes out, folks, you can go on Amazon and pre-order it. So that's excellent. So Jonathan, give us, we're just so the Gonzo family, just so you know, we're going to walk away from this interview with some very tangible tips on how you could bring your fitness, therefore your life, everything that goes with that, to the next level. But first, I want to let you hear about Jonathan's journey about, getting into the fitness business and some great things that he's done with it and what he's doing today. And Jonathan, just quickly, hats off to you. 12 Ironman triathlons, 26 Boston marathons. God bless you. That's so super fantastic. So you're not only talking the talk, you're walking the walk every day. So good for you.
Yeah, thanks, David. I'll just mention real quick for time's sake, my story. And ideally, it's going to pique the interest of the team watching, which is I was a college athlete. I played soccer and lacrosse in college, was super blessed, loved both of them. Then I started working in Fidelity Investments as an analyst. And I just leaned in big time in my career and started working 80 plus hours a week. And I actually packed on all this weight. So on the day of the Boston Marathon in April of 1995, I got on the green line in Boston the day of the Boston Marathon. And I just worked a long day at Fidelity. I was exhausted. I get on the train and a guy jumps on and sits next to me and he's got this silver thing around him. You just run. So I'm like, hey, congratulations. And the next 15 minutes completely altered the trajectory of my life. This guy was on fire. His eyes were popping out of his head. He was like lit up. Meanwhile, he had just run 26 miles. And as I sat next to him, I actually weighed 224 pounds and was wearing size 38 pants. I was a shadow of who I used to be, but I knew he was still in there. And at the end of the conversation, David, he looked me in the eye. I remember like it was a minute ago. And he said, you should do it next year. And I was like, and he's like, I bet you'd lose weight. You'd love it. So long story short, I get off the train. It was pre-cell phones. I'm dating myself again. It was 95. And I go home and I call my dad. Now I grew up in the South Shore of Boston. So he used to bring us to the Boston Marathon every year. So I call my dad and I tell him the story of this guy on the train. And my dad obviously had seen what had happened with my weight and my vibe. And so I said to my dad, who, by the way, at the time, my dad was morbidly obese. And my dad actually had been a running back at Boston College. He had been a high-level college athlete also. And so I told my dad, what do you think? And he said, I think you should definitely do it. And I'm like, all right, I'm doing it. So 6 months later, after I had been training and making progress, I was actually on a treadmill outside of Boston. And one of the other analysts I worked with tapped me on the shoulder. I was wearing my like nerdy, Walkman probably. I think it was this man if I really want to date
Discman.
myself.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Mid
right?
90s. I think we were into the Discman. Yeah.
Yeah. And they said, you have a call. And I told him, you have to come home. And I pressed him, David. He said,
Jonathan, I'm going to interrupt you. I'm at a media company right now doing some consulting work, and the internet connection is a little unstable. So let's turn off our videos because 99.9% of this listen to this anyway. And then just start again, but talking about that you were listening to your CD man.
Yeah, so I was on the treadmill at the gym, and an analyst that I work with tapped me on the shoulder. He said, they keep calling you to the front desk. And so I got off the treadmill and I went over to the front desk, and they said, you have a call. And it was one of my older brothers. And he kept saying, you got to come home. You got to come home. And I pressed him and I said, what's going on? He said, Dad just died of cardiac arrest.
Oh man.
And I remember turning around at that health club, dripping in sweat, and then losing it. Obviously, my dad was only 62. And as I mourned my dad over those next couple of weeks, I realized I need to break the cycle of college athlete lets himself go. My dad was 62 and he was the oldest male for 3 generations on either side of my family. So this is a pattern that needed to be broken.
Yeah.
And that was a changing an inflection point in my life. Obviously it was a low point in my life, but I also then over those next 6 to 8 months really did the research, found out about the power of interval training, how you burn 30% more calories versus a regular workout and staying at a regular pace. And then I started nailing my interval workouts, dialed in my nutrition. And then over that year between when I met the gentleman on the train and when I ran my first Boston Marathon, which was in 1996, I dropped 44 pounds doing interval training.
Wow.
And now I kept it off. I'm going to run my 27th straight Boston Marathon 12 weeks from this Monday. And my goal is 50 straight for Dana-Farber Cancer Institute, because that's where my mom was treated when I was a kid. So that's why I keep going back and, and towing the line again.
Good for you. So what do you, if you don't mind me asking, what do you weigh these days?
180.
180, and you were 224.
Yeah, I've kept the 44 pounds off for, I think we're right at about 27, almost 28 years now.
And how tall are you?
6 feet.
6 feet. That is freaking tremendous, Jonathan. I'm so sorry about your father. That still, hurts to this day. But I could almost feel from the story that you're doing it for him every year as well. And for your family, for your kids, right? To just, like you said, stop this cycle of your family members dying early by really transforming your everything about you. And I think you're going to pass on some new between you and your kids, et cetera, down the road, you're going to pass on some altered DNA with some of the changes you're making. There'll be a new kind of family line with you guys because of what you're doing today. So really, really excited for you. And that you obviously took it so seriously. You love Fidelity and just became your full-time mission of fitness and health, right?
Yeah. So what happened, David, is once I went through that transformation process myself, I realized that my parents were remarkable people. They both struggled with their weight. They both struggled with their health. My mom struggled with her weight and she was a smoker. She passed away at 49 from lung cancer. And the reason I started Breakthrough Health, my company, is I wanted to create the solution that I believe my parents could have used to thrive and be healthy and meet their eventual 11 grandkids. My dad had met one, my mom didn't meet any of them. And so when I really looked at that in my own transformation, and this is what we're going to jump into right now as far as tools and strategies for the listeners, is a lot of people think dropping weight, getting fit, getting their A game on, becoming the most energetic person in the room or on the Zoom call, that they think that's all about action. And clearly you have to take action. Otherwise you're just sitting around talking about things and nothing's moving. But what I work with the athletes I'm blessed to coach, and the executives or anyone I'm blessed to coach, including the audience right now, is this idea of action is actually the third step to achieving what I call peak performance lock-in. Peak performance lock-in is you at your absolute best, physically, mentally, spiritually, and emotionally, both personally and professionally. It's when you have your A game, you feel remarkable, people around you can feel it, both personally and professionally. It's you thriving. And there's a process to that. And we're seeing it right now. You and I, you mentioned this will go out a week later, but we're filming this or catching up on the 20th of January. So we're seeing this right now, which is it's January, let's do it. And people try to skip right to action. And maybe they go and they clean out their cupboard, or they start going to the gym and doing these hour workouts, and they just try to really push it action-wise, which is obviously you've got to take action. But there's 2 steps prior to action if you're truly going to transform and keep the weight off for good, keep the energy up for good, keep gifting both your family and your team at the office your A game, which we'll talk about later in our discussion, David, which is a lot of people, they give their A game out all day and then they stick their family with like the B game or the B plus game or B minus game. And there's a better way, but you've got to go to these first 2 steps before action. So the first step is what I call the voice choice. I believe this is the most important decision of our lives. And it happens every morning, which is the voice choice. Which voice are we going to listen to? We're going to listen to our positive voice or our negative voice. Our negative voice loves to complain and whine about things. Oh my gosh, we have a busy day. Our negative voice likes to point out what's wrong with everything from the traffic to your spouse to, for females, their own body. The negative voice is like that downer former friend who you're like, man, every time I used to talk to him or her, they drag me down. That voice is at the podium for a lot of people. But on the flip side, our positive voice is psyched. It's like fired up. All right, cool. We have a busy day. How many families are we going to, say you're a mortgage professional, how many families are we going to serve today? Who are we going to connect with? What's going on my team? The positive voice is pointing out what's right with your team, with the weather, with your spouse, with your body, with your everything. And if you get the positive voice to the podium, that's a game changer. What I'll mention is if you don't actively select your positive voice, then by default, you pick your negative voice. Is this making sense so far, David?
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think our default, it's very easy to be negative. It's kind of our default system is to complain and be negative. And you have to instigate the positive voice, correct?
Correct. And be super intentional, like before your feet hit the ground in the morning, to say, all right, I'm going to listen to my positive voice, and then do periodic check-ins throughout the day. And I know it's nerdy, but it works, which is who's at the podium. And then if you go, hey, man, I've been like a little off here, more than likely your negative voice is at the podium. And then you say, all right, I got to get my positive voice back to the podium. And then ideally, we move to step number 2, which flows from that voice choice. Step number 2 is our thought patterns. Our thought patterns flow from who's at the podium. Again, as I mentioned a couple minutes ago, David, if our negative voice is at the podium, our thought patterns are about what's wrong, and we're giving off that vibe, and it's not great leadership. It's not good parenting. It's not good you being the best spouse you can. It's like you're operating in a less than state. Now, if your positive voice is at the podium, your thought patterns are positive. They're about opportunity and abundance and leadership and stepping up into our own greatness. And then those thoughts then dictate our actions. And so, as I mentioned, a lot of people just try to skip the actions. They join the gym, or they clean out the cupboard, or they make these commitments. But if you don't have the right voice at the podium of your mind, this goes whether you're talking professional athletes, college athletes, CEOs, rock star moms, doesn't matter what field you're playing on. If you don't nail that voice choice, you're going to be in a compromised state, and the action will not be sustained. And therefore, the transformation may be attained, but again, it won't be sustained.
Oh, I like that. I like that. Yeah, because the sustained is the goal, right? So we're not on the yo-yo of life.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely.
That's good. So the voice choice, the thought patterns, and the action, very all, obviously very important. But like what are some more long-term strategies? Because how many people, they get, like, you got to the 180. And I've done it before, right? Where you reach a goal, you reach a fitness goal, and it's kind of like, the champagne, yay. And then you just get back into the old habits. And before you know it, you've gained weight again. What are just some ways that we can sustain this success?
Well, I think that the first thing is simplicity wins. When we think we're going to work out for an hour a day, that's like a part-time job. And my advice is do 30 precise minutes, even 20 if you're just starting off, but do it like you mean it. A lot of people punch the clock when it comes to exercise, and it doesn't add up. You shouldn't be like feeling like you're going to keel over, but this is not hangout time. Like if you go to a gym, you see a lot of people that kind of, I call it, my Boston slang for it is they're kind of la-di-da-di and along. It's like, don't do that. We don't la-di-da along in our business execution. If we know what we're doing, we execute, we lean in, we do it. And when it comes to our self-care, want to think in terms of, it's about quality, not quantity. Yeah. You don't need an hour a day. If I was retired, I wouldn't work out an hour a day because I want to be exercising into my 80s or 90s. I want to still be running marathons into my 70s. That's earned. And I'll just mention, and it relates to your question, David, which is people don't feel old because of their age. They feel old because of their habits.
Yeah.
And that's really important when you're thinking in terms of longevity, because people go, oh yeah, I want longevity. I don't think anyone wants longevity. What they want is healthy longevity. They don't want to be in a chair. They want to be in the game. They want to be messing around with the grandkids and being on it, or walking on the beach with their spouse in their 90s. That's earned through our habits. And back to what your question was, which is simplicity wins. We don't need the grand plan. What we need to do is say, there's only 5 key areas I believe that are most important for self-care. And they're super simple. The first one is sleep. The second one is water. The third one is nutrition. The fourth one is exercise. And the fifth one is positive content. And what I mean by that is we can't get there alone. Like your audience, the reason they're listening right now is they like the David vibe. Like, you're not like, hey guys, it's David. It's like, oh my gosh, is he in the library? What's this guy's deal? No, they listen because you're fired up. You have energy and positivity. That's positive content. Yeah. And a lot of times we give too much credit to people who are on fire. Like the most positive person in the room didn't come out of her mom that way. That might sound weird. Yeah. Like she orchestrated it. She nailed a workout this morning. she doesn't watch the news, or she has a 5-minute cutoff. She's ditching all the energy vampires that had robbed her of her excellence, people from high school that want to whine and complain. She's made some decisions about herself. That's why she's on fire. But that positive content thing, people either blow it off or they dabble in it. And again, my saying on that is we can't get there alone. We need some lift. We need the books. We need the podcasts. We need the motivation to elevate.
Oh, I agree so much. And it's not something that you could just do and then you're done. I mean, it's something that you can only coast for so long. Like, in my opinion, you need to continually feed your mind, body, and soul, which is positive content, stuff that it's going to inspire you, help you grow, maybe help you laugh, and we get this from when we met with Darren Hardy. Like, I very rarely watch the news because it's draining, right? They're finding this negative crap, and they're bringing it to a new level just to incite you to be really upset. And I don't need that, right? And, so sometimes, like, I listen to Tony Robbins, I listen to Ed Milet, I listen to Dean Graziosi, I listen to like very positive podcasts and books on tape, I'm dating myself, Audible, right? And I go to events when there's not COVID, and people ask me, like, why do you still do this? You're in your early 50s. Like, you've been doing this since your 20s. I'm like, exactly. I got to keep on going. I mean, I bet you were the same guy, but when I graduated college and got my first car, and I'm dating myself again, I had the cassette player in the car. I had the Tony Robbins, Awaken the Giant Within cassettes. I had Brian Tracy. I had Og Mandino. I had all these guys that were just helping me get inspired to go to my next level. And I agree completely. I also want to talk about your 5, because I noticed you said sleep first, and maybe you said it first because it's most important. I agree that it's most important because nothing else kind of lines up if you're exhausted, right? And, Dr. Oz, he says that too. First thing, the number one thing is get enough sleep. And I think we, especially Americans, don't take that seriously. That we, there's like this kind of, macho thing. Like, I don't need that much sleep. I go to bed late, get up early, blah, blah, blah. It catches up with you, like with your mental and physical health, pretty quickly if you don't get enough, correct?
1,000,000%. And I'll just mention 2 really important things, David, that relate to that, which is I would invite the audience to think in terms of focusing on their energy instead of their weight, focusing on their energy instead of their health. Like, if I said to you, oh, David, I want to lose weight, it's like zero fun to that. Oh, I want to get healthy, same deal. We're kind of like, But if you focus on your energy, and from 0 to 5, checking in each day, where's my energy? If you're a 5, you're the most positive person in the room. Not surprisingly, when you're a 5, you're probably trouncing it business-wise or whatever field you operate on.
Yeah.
Because people are drawn to 5s. You can see a 5 from a mile away. You can also, people are interested and intrigued with 4s. I'm going to say something blunt just to give you guys a heads up. If you're a 3 or less, you're invisible in the marketplace. And that's a blunt. It's like, what does that mean? It means exactly what I said. You're boring. And I don't mean that like rudely, you guys, but you're just like everyone else. You're swimming in a sea of sameness.
Yeah.
And I'm moving on. And if you want to really elevate personally and professionally, chase down your 5 every day and let that play out in, most importantly, how you serve your family and giving them your A game, but also what you're trying to execute on outside of your personal stuff. What are your business aspirations? What are you trying to do? Who are you trying to be? And all of that comes compliments of your energy and your vibe. And I want to bring that up. Obviously, we support that through those 5 key areas: sleep, water, nutrients, exercise, and positive content. It's super simple. I guide my athletes the same way I do with the executives. It's all about the mindset that then, again, nailing the voice choice leads to the thoughts, leads to the action to execute on those 5 things. But we've got to get focused on this idea of energy and how that can be something that we will do long term, because the whole like weight loss, again, health thing, that kind of gets old and it's not super empowering to think about.
Yeah, who likes the word weight and who likes the word loss, right? So why would you put those together, right? So you're correct. I do like the energy thing, and that's something that I pride myself on. Is no matter how hard the times get, I always try to instigate some great energy for myself, because I know it's going to ripple. It's going to ripple in my life. It's going to ripple to other people. it's just, for me, it all starts with the mindset. Because if I have a positive mindset, I know that I'm going to work hard at working out. I know that I'm going to really try hard to get enough water and get enough. Like, I'm not going to give up on those things that you just mentioned. But I do feel like, the engine has to get started with your mindset to tackle everything, and really focus on having a mindset towards positive energy.
A million percent.
I was listening to one of the podcasts that I listen to for inspiration is Ed Milet. And Ed Milet's got a great podcast. If you haven't heard of him, he's very, very famous now. So you probably have, but if not, give him a shot. But today he has on Tony Robbins, right? And so it's so funny. Tony is you and Tony have a lot in common, because Ed was saying, like, well, what if this happened? And what if this happened? Or, for instance, what if you have a great mindset and you're ready to go, but your family, your spouse doesn't match you, and he would always have advice for all those things. But the first thing he would say is, you got to be in great shape. He's always going back to, you have to be physically fit, because if you're not, if your heart's not beating, if you're not sweating a little bit every day, you won't have the mental fortitude to do what you need to do to bring yourself to the next level in all these different areas of your life. And I mean, is that, how do you feel about that? I feel like, that's true. Like, if you're not in good shape, all these other things are very tough to do.
I agree with it. And I'll just layer on top of that, David, which is, and this is blunt, but that's my coaching style, respectful, but blunt, which is, a lot of people blame their spouse. But, oh my, my spouse keeps offering me dessert. Well, he doesn't pin you on the couch and make you eat the ice cream. You decided to. Or, oh man, my husband comes home and he tees off in his job and his boss and he's all negative. Well, if you're in an energy level 5, you kind of don't care.
Yeah.
And people go, no, but still and they want to blame their spouse or their boss or their kids or their job. And at the end of the day, we all get to own our energy and our vibe. We could be in a very toxic situation, but if we have our A game on, we're not going to be like, yeah, this is awesome. Everyone's all negative, say your coworkers, but you know what? You'll be able to elevate beyond that, because you're too busy focusing on action and progress and making a dent in what you're trying to do overall. And from that, I just want to mention one more thing, David, so we make sure we don't miss it time-wise, which is, when you talk about sustaining, right? Maybe you get to your goal weight or you achieve something, and I get this, particularly with the athletes I'm blessed to coach, but also myself with the Boston Marathon. It's like, all right, when the lights shut off, right? And all of a sudden you're back to like, all right, how am I going to inspire myself here? How am I going to keep this up? What I would invite the audience to consider is leadership. We got to lead. Like I mentioned to you when we were catching up before we jumped into the podcast, David, right now, these 2 years, these have been our greatest leadership moment. And if the audience, if any of you are less than proud of how you've led so far, you can do all 0 to change that, but it's time to elevate, because we're still in a moment right now where people are banged up in what I call the current situation. I don't use the word, I call it the health situation. That's part of leadership, by the way. I don't want to say the word, because every time you say it, it's kind of negative. So I've said for 2 years, I just call it the health situation. During the health situation, this has become what I call the CV Ironman. No one signed up. Initially, it was a 5K. It was kind of like, I don't want to do this. And okay, we got to do it anyway. And then all of a sudden, we finished the 5K, and they go, hey, it's actually a 10K. And then people go, oh, man. And then it became a half marathon, Ironman. And then we got last summer, it looked like, oh, we're good. Get the mask off. Let's do this. We made it. And then all of a sudden, they announced on the PA, come back over to the start line. We're doing another Ironman. And I tell you guys that because we got to lead. Someone's got to step up. Someone's got to talk about minimizing or alleviating news. Someone's got to talk about, it's all good. Summer's coming. We'll probably be, things. The beautiful thing is this is eventually going to pass, because my view on this, and I've worked with a lot of the executives I'm blessed to coach on this, which is leaders are observed in normal times, but they're studied during chaotic times.
Right.
And now, whether we want to admit it or not, we've been, as leaders, whether you're talking in your home or outside of your home, we've been being studied. In leadership isn't about telling. Leadership is about showing and doing. And I'm hopefully stirring the pot on some of the listeners right now to go, you got to step up. The lights are on. They're watching you. it is game time. This is not time to be hungover or, yeah, I'm trying to get my morning routine, but I just haven't been able to get it going. Like at some point we got to own it and start realizing that these little nicks in our self-worth, like hitting the snooze button, they accumulate and they rob us of our personal excellence, but they also rob us of being world-class leaders.
Wow. So powerful, Jonathan. I agree with you completely that leaders are tested and made in tough times. So you're a smart guy. You went to college. Do you know who, I'm going to ask you this question. Do you know who Chester Arthur is?
I do not.
Okay. So he was our country's president. He was our 21st president, and you've never heard of him.
That is true.
Guess why?
That's true.
Guess why? Because nothing happened during his tenure. The country was doing okay. There was no major battles, no major turbulence. Everything was kind of okay. And don't be ashamed that you haven't heard of one of our presidents. 9 out of 10 people have never heard of Chester Arthur, right? President of the United States in the late 80s, 1880s, it is. But who has not heard of Abraham Lincoln, right? And talk about tough times, right? And he, that's why he's, regarded as the best president ever in our country by many people from both sides. And because, to your point, he led during massively turbulent times, and he led very well. So I think that's a great example of what you're talking about. Yes, this health situation, we're definitely experiencing some tough times, but good leaders will make an incredible situation out of it and come out stronger and better. So thank you for that. I also want to talk about you had mentioned that, don't let someone else, maybe your spouse, your environment of people, whether it's work or friends, don't let them take away your positivity. Don't let them. That is up to you. And you made me think about Viktor Frankl, who wrote Man's Search for Meaning. Have you read that book, Jonathan?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So it's one of my favorite books ever. Viktor Frankl was a Jewish psychiatrist in Germany, World War II, Nazi Germany, and was taken into the Holocaust. And he, in this book, which it's amazing book, but what always strikes me the most is when he said they could take everything away from me, right? They took his family away. They took his clothes away. They attempted to take everything away from him. But the one thing they couldn't take away was his attitude. I mean, they could have, but he in his mind, he's like, that's the one thing that I am in control of, and I will not allow them to take away my attitude. So, if Viktor Frankl can persist and succeed through the concentration camps of the Nazi regime by holding on to his attitude, you, Gonzo family, anybody can persist a negative situation, whether it's a negative spouse, family, it's up to you to hold on to that attitude and make things happen for yourself. So thank you for that, Jonathan, too. Maybe you really reminded me that I want to read that book again. I do try to read that every couple of years.
Yeah. Awesome, David. I'll just layer on top of that, which is, again, back to positive content and really taking ownership of our own journey, taking ownership of our own energy, our vibe, our leadership. And a lot of people, they give their power away. And we already have everything we need. We have all along. In my view, my mom, her greatest gift to me, which actually is the best advice I've ever received in my life, which is treat everyone as if they already are who they have the potential to be.
Wow.
And I bring that up now because that includes us.
Ooh.
So what would happen if the Gonzo audience from this second on decided, you know what? I'm going to already treat myself as if I'm at my goal weight. I'm going to treat myself as if I'm already energy level 5, most positive person on the Zoom call or in the room. I'm going to treat myself as if I already am a world-class leader. And then as we treat ourselves that way and view ourselves that way, we will nurture ourselves that way because we invest time, energy, focus, and follow through in the things we value. That's why if someone's freaky into their garden, you go to their house, you go, oh my gosh, look at David's garden. I know he's freaky into gardening. That's why it looks like that. We want to value ourselves at a higher level and then own it. And then what we will become it. This isn't pie in the sky thinking, you guys. This is facts. I've guided countless people through this, including some of the most amazing athletes on the planet. When we win in our mind, we can then win externally. But if we don't get the voice choice right, again, that leads into thoughts that then leads into action. We won't invest those 4 critical things: time, energy, focus, and follow through in ourselves. We've got to alter our thought patterns and how we view ourselves. And this is going to sound nerdy, but it's spot on. If someone's trying to lose weight, the best gift they can give themselves is decide that they're already that version of them. Meaning, like when I was 24, I'm like, all right, 180 Jonathan is in there. Yeah, I was him. I'm not theorizing it. Like, he's in there. He hasn't gone anywhere. He's just covered through some, with some bad habits. And for your audience, that's what I'm ideally today trying to stir the pot on. Like, we got to step up, and we don't need to go in the cupboard and clean everything out. And oh my gosh, go down to the gym for an hour. Forget that, you guys. Figure out, what do I need? I need a glass of water. I'm going to nail workout, even if it's 10 or 15 minutes. I'm going to stop consuming news, which is a drain. I'm going to stop connecting with my energy vampire friends from college who want to whine about whatever. We gotta elevate our standards and expectations on who we want to travel with, because we're not going to get there alone. If you're not with a bunch of A players, you're going to get stuck with the B crowd, and you're going to spectate on your potential.
I love it. You just made me think. So I'm after this interview, I'm about to go out to lunch with a friend, and I'm thinking that, I've told you I've gained this extra weight during the holidays, and so what would 180 Dave have for lunch? Would he have a burger and fries, or would he have maybe a healthy salad with some grilled salmon? I think I'm going for the salmon. Thank you for that. I want the burger. I'm thinking that would be good right now, but 180 Dave would choose the salad with salmon. So thank you for that. Jonathan, I love this. Thank you so much. So much gold, so many nuggets that you shared with us. If you're holding a microphone, please drop it. Super, super content. So thank you so much. And thanks for all that you're doing with your life, with helping others. You not only improved your own life, but you made a business out of it with helping others as well. I think this interview today puts you more towards your goal of positively transforming 100 million people. So thank you for that as well. Jonathan, if people want to reach out to you, I know that, you've got some great content programs. You have a retreat every year. If they want to learn more about you and get involved in the Jonathan world, what are the best ways to do that?
Yeah, they can go to peaklockin.com and they can see about our coaching programs, keynote speaking. We have multiple events at our property in Vermont. But most important, I just want to point out to your audience, if I can help you out in any way, reach out to me through peaklockin.com, connect with me on LinkedIn. I will serve you. I won't go in and, do you want to do the coaching thing? I don't do any of that. I just serve, give, provide tools, strategies. The world turns. I'm not worried about it. So if I can help you, your family, your team, your clients, anyone in any way, reach out. I'm meticulous with following up on that, but you can go to peaklockin.com or connect with me through LinkedIn or on Facebook.
Thank you for that. And if anybody wants a personal email introduction to Jonathan, throw me an email at david@davidmamano.com. And I'd be happy to do that as well. Jonathan, again, thank you so much for sharing your hearty health beats with me today and our Gonzo family. Very much appreciate it. Wish you continued massive success.
Awesome. David, thanks a ton for having me on, and for the team. Nail that voice choice, which will then lead to our thought patterns that then will lead to drastic action. And I will just finish with this. Elevate your expectations for 2022. Decide that it is going to be the best year of your life. Not one of them, the best. And then go to work on being who you know you already are inside, which is that on fire, at your goal weight, best version of yourself.
Bring it, own it. Doesn't matter what stage of life you're in. If you're 75, make this your best year yet, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Thanks again, Jonathan. Thank you, Gonzo family, for sharing your heartbeats with us today. Very much appreciate you. Wishing you the best day ever, the best year ever. And as always, make sure to have a great day and stay awesome.
Awesome.